Just a little over a decade ago, FIFA, Madden, and NBA Live were at the top of mobile gaming, bringing in millions of dollars weekly. Whether you were grinding live events, building your dream team, or trying to pull that one card that's been avoiding you for weeks, these games created memories that'll last a lifetime. But now, just 10 years later, these games have faded into the shadows of their former greatness, lacking features that once defined them. But how did it end up like this? Well, join me on a trip down memory lane as we look to figure out what happened to EA mobile sports games. EA's been releasing mobile sports games since 2003, and to me, there are 4 distinct eras that define the past 2 decades. First, we have the pre-Ultimate Team era, which spans from 2003 to 2013. This era kicked off with FIFA Football 03, released in August of 2003. It featured just 16 international teams and 2 playable game modes, friendlies and tournaments, making for a fairly limited experience. Still, it set the stage for something bigger, as EA expanded its mobile lineup with Madden NFL 06 and NBA Live 06 arriving in late 2005. While NBA Live 06 kept things simple, Madden 06 was ahead of its time, packed with features that today's Madden Mobile still fails to implement. Announcers, audibles, in-game substitutions, and fully customizable season rosters. I mean, this game had it all. It blows my mind that a game from 2005 offers more unique features and customization than the current version nearly 2 decades later. But really, it just highlights EA's lack of care. Just look at the phone these games ran on. And while Madden 06 pushed boundaries on these phones, mobile gaming still faced serious limitations at the time. Simplicity was a common theme with these old mobile games, but that wasn't necessarily by choice. Developers worked with what they had, but this was a time when cell phones weren't mini computers that could fit in your pockets. Games weren't only limited by hardware, but also by storage. And this quote from a Madden NFL 06 review says it all. "We played the Verizon VCast version of the game on an audio box, which has enough memory to support Madden's absurdly large 3 megabyte footprint." Let me read that last part again. Absurdly large 3 megabyte footprint. 3 megabytes. And yeah, I know, different times. But still, compare that to any mobile game now and, well, it's not even close. EA stuck with this format until the late 2000s, when the launch of the iPhone and App Store completely revolutionized the mobile gaming industry. This gave EA an easier way to release their games to the public, putting them in the hands of more people than ever before. And in 2009, they dropped their first sports titles for the App Store: FIFA, Madden, and NBA Live 10. All 3 launched within a month of each other and introduced major upgrades over their predecessors, most notably featuring 3D models for the first time. Beyond that, these games remained fairly simple, though FIFA stood out with its career mode. FIFA and Madden saw yearly releases in this style through the early 2010s, but NBA Live didn't share the same fate, disappearing for over half a decade from November 2010 to February 2016. And while they continued to evolve each year, one game in particular would take things to a whole nother level: FIFA 14, which fittingly marks the end of the pre-Ultimate Team era. Arguably the greatest mobile sports game of all time, it pushed FIFA on mobile to its peak, delivering an experience that felt nearly identical to its console counterpart. With game modes like Manager Mode, Ultimate Team, and Tournament, plus smooth gameplay and real-time online play, it's no surprise this game remains one of the best ever. Now, Madden also had some good games during this time, but nothing came close to FIFA 14, and NBA Live was also a game that existed, well, for a little bit at least. But as EA's approach to mobile gaming continued to evolve, a major shift was on the horizon. The following year in 2014, FIFA transitioned into FIFA 15 Ultimate Team, marking the start of our next era, the Golden Age. The Golden Age describes the run that EA went on during the mid-2010s, releasing games like FIFA Ultimate Team 15 and 16, Madden Mobile 15 and 16, while also launching NBA Live Mobile. And if you were around during this era, you'd know how good, no great, these games were. But what made them so popular? To answer that question, we gotta take it back to the start of the Golden Age, with the releases of FIFA and Madden Mobile 15. These games, especially FIFA, underwent a major transformation, fully embracing the Ultimate Team model for the very first time. Well, not exactly. You see, EA had been experimenting with Madden for the past 2 years. Madden 13 Social and Madden 25 Mobile both featured aspects of Ultimate Team that we know and love. But if you're interested in hearing more about these games and Madden Mobile's history in general, check out my other video. Anyway, where were we? Ah yes, FIFA and Madden Mobile 15. Arguably 2 of the greatest games in each franchise's history. They set the standard for what these games could and should be. I mean, they each made well over $100 million in their first year alone. Imagine what they could become a decade later. Actually, let's not do that. These games were among the best mobile titles out there, and their success wasn't slowing down anytime soon. As the games continued to grow in popularity, so did their communities. The top Madden Mobile YouTubers saw their view counts more than double from 15 to 16, with creators like MMG, Justthebro, and Noobkill leading the charge. Meanwhile, the Madden Mobile Instagram scene exploded, with new accounts popping up daily. I'm not entirely sure how FIFA's community evolved during this time, but given the overlap between these games, I can only imagine they experienced a similar surge. Now, if you're unfamiliar with FIFA, after FIFA 16 launched, EA didn't delist FIFA 15 off the App Store. Instead, they rebranded it as FIFA 15 New Season. This update gave FIFA 15 the look and feel of 16, and from what I found, the main reasons players stuck with it was because FIFA 16 pretty much only ran on newer devices at the time. To keep things simple, I won't dive deeper into FIFA 15 New Season, but I've gotta say, it was a cool move by EA, and I wish they'd do the same for their newer games. I mean, EA could revive any game from this era and watch their player count skyrocket overnight, but that'd require them to take accountability. And well, in the wise words of Mike Tomlin, y'all know that ain't happening. About half a year later, in February 2016, EA surprised the world by dropping a brand new app, NBA Live Mobile. Well, if you were Canadian or an honorary Canadian like many of us became, that is. For everyone else, the game officially launched worldwide in July of 2016. I remember NBA Live Mobile's release taking over the Madden Mobile community, and it makes sense. Not only was it a good game, but it also benefited from launching during the back half of Madden Mobile's 16 cycle, when many players stopped playing. This timing helped it stand out, not just within our community, but among basketball and mobile gaming fans everywhere. Now, I've talked about the games that define the golden age, but I haven't answered two main questions. What made them so fun, and why did they become so popular? Well, luckily for us, those questions can be answered quite easily. I believe the first reason these games became so popular was because of the auction house or transfer market, depending on what you played. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to refer to them as the auction house, since I mainly played Madden Mobile. But if you ask anyone who played these games what they miss most from this era, chances are they'll mention the old auction house, and for good reason. It was one of the best features these games had to offer. I mean, nothing beat refreshing the auction house every few minutes, hunting for that next big snipe. Well, at least before botting took over, that is. With the popularity of the auction house, one would assume EA would try to figure out ways to keep it in the game while finding a way to combat botting and coin selling. But not EA. No, instead they chose the laziest solution possible, fully controlling the auction house. Or, in Madden Mobile's case, removing it entirely. I mean, it's a trading card game, without the trading. It doesn't make sense. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, it's just that rather than fixing the issue, they took the easy way out, gutting a core feature and ruining the experience for many players in the process. I mean, sniping was a huge reason why so many people played these games, and this decision caused a large chunk of the community to quit altogether. But whether you just used the auction house to build your dream team, sniped cards, or just scrolled through the listings, I think we can all agree on one thing. These games felt way better with a player-controlled auction house, not this bot nonsense. The second reason I believe these games were so popular was because of the packs. I mean, this one's a no-brainer. Who didn't love ripping open packs back in the day? If that's you, you probably had awful pack luck or something. But come on, you can't tell me opening packs wasn't some of the most fun you could have in these games. The dopamine rush from pulling a top-tier card turned so many of us into mini gamblers before we even hit high school. I mean, I still remember my best pull of all time. But be warned, it's cringe.
I can't, this is my best pull of all time. Like, this isn't fake.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, cringe aside, I'm sure many of you watching have a memory similar to mine. Pulling an insane card and completely losing your mind. That's part of what made these games so special. And sadly, they just don't offer moments like that anymore. But whether you ripped open packs from the store or completed sets, there was always a way to gamble in these games. And honestly, I just think that's neat. But all of our gambling addictions aside, packs were such a key staple to these games that the fact EA managed to even mess those up proves how little they actually cared or knew about their communities. And yeah, it's EA, so it's not that shocking. But seriously, packs are so easy to get right. Just offer a variety of coin packs, don't have any limits on how many you could open, and keep good cards in circulation year-round. That's it. It's that simple. And yet, EA still felt the need to change them. Why? If packs are good, people want to spend money on them. And isn't that, I don't know, exactly what EA wants? I mean, look at Madden Mobile 15 for example. It had tons of bundles that costed $100. Signature, Flashback, BCA. I mean, I could just go on and on. But since they weren't the only options for packs, it didn't feel nearly as scummy. Sure, some people took issue with it, since certain cards were locked behind these paywalls. But it's honestly still a way better system than what we have today, where basically everything good's locked behind a paywall, while you can only use coins to open up trash packs. It's just sad to see how far these games have fallen in just a decade. Then again, it's EA at the end of the day, and we all know they only care about one thing.
Hello, I like money.
The third reason I believe these games were so popular was team building. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, duh, it's an Ultimate Team game. And to that I say, yes. Team building shaped these games just as much as the auction house or opening packs did, maybe even more. I mean, who didn't love building a theme team every year? Having a theme team kept the game exciting to me. I probably would have quit playing way earlier if I wasn't making one every season. I loved seeing the differences in my team from year to year, and it became tradition for me to run an all Chiefs theme team. And before you comment anything, I was a Chiefs fan before we were good. Actually, scratch that. Go ahead and comment anyway, the algorithm likes it. Anyway, building a theme team added so much to these games in my opinion. When a player from your team got a new card, it actually mattered. Instead of just grabbing the best players available, you had a real reason to chase certain cards. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure having the best lineup felt great, but in my opinion, nothing beats building a team full of your favorite players from the past and present. And the best part, there's so many unique ways to build a theme team. It didn't have to be based on just one team. You could build around a promo, the coolest card art, or whatever other ideas you could think of. The possibilities were endless, and that's just not the case with the newest games. An underrated aspect of the games from this era was the simplicity of them, and I mean that in the best way possible. From the UI to the 99 overall caps, promos, gameplay, sets, and whatever else, it was all simpler during this time. And to me, that's something these games thrived upon. Take the 99 overall cap, for example. What made it so much better than the system EA uses now? Well, for starters, it just looks cleaner. Seeing overalls climb into the hundreds just feels wrong. Most people I knew hated when Madden Mobile started inflating overalls, so I can only imagine how the FIFA and NBA communities reacted. Granted, those games didn't suffer from overall inflation nearly as much as Madden Mobile did, but they still lost the consistency that the 99 cap provided. Plus, having a hard cap at 99 lets players know exactly what the highest overall card can be for that year. Nowadays, these games launch with players already near or even above 100 overall, making it way too easy for EA to inflate ratings whenever they want. Overall, these games thrived with help from their simplicity. New players could jump in without feeling overwhelmed by absurdly high overalls or a flood of unnecessary features. That simplicity is what helped the core aspects shine. But as these games strayed further from what made them special, players lost interest and profits took a big hit. It's the cycle of capitalism. When a product succeeds, executives step in, squeezing every dollar out of it, even at the product's expense. And once that happens, well, there's no turning back. You've lost the trust of most of your player base. With all that being said, this era still suffered from its own unique flaws. Many quality of life features were missing: auto-filling sets, claiming all auctions, auto-playing live events, and much more. The games often ran slow, were riddled with glitches, and lacked some of the polish that today's versions have. However, some of those glitches did lead to the most unforgettable moments, whether it had something to do with coins, cards, or packs. At the end of the day, this era was defined by some truly great games. And while nostalgia can make us look at things through rose-tinted glasses, I genuinely believe these old games blow the new versions out of the water, and it's not even close. Before we dive into the mobile era, if you've enjoyed the video so far, make sure to like and subscribe. It's free and it really helps me out. Now, let's get back into the video. Sadly, all good things must come to an end, and after the release of NBA Live Mobile in early 2016, things were about to change. Just not for the better. Thanks to Madden Mobile's widespread success, EA believed they'd found the formula for mobile sports gaming. So, bye-bye FIFA Ultimate Team, hello FIFA Mobile. This shift marked the beginning of the mobile era, starting in late 2016, and this was more than just a name change. FIFA Mobile moved away from resembling its console counterpart and instead became more like Madden Mobile. From what I've read, this change wasn't exactly welcomed by the FIFA Mobile community at the time, but that doesn't mean it was a bad game. I mean, it's miles ahead of what FC Mobile's turned into. But still, they slowly phased out modes that didn't make them money, like Manager Mode, while they tried to monetize every other aspect of the game they possibly could. This is similar to what happened to both NBA Live and Madden Mobile, which makes me think EA knows these games don't have much time left and is trying to squeeze every last dollar out of them before they pull the plug for good. Other than that, there's not much else to say about this era of games. They weren't as bad as the current versions, but they were far from the peak of what these games once were. If this was the era you started playing, I'm sure you look back on it fondly, and I get that. But for the longtime players, this was when it became clear that EA wasn't really listening to its community anymore. Overalls kept climbing higher every season, promos got less and less creative, and EA doubled down on bad decisions, capping pro packs, introducing the auction house bot, defensive game plans, all while gameplay continued to decline. It just felt like things were headed in the wrong direction. Don't get me wrong, while this era didn't live up to the greatness of what came before it, it still produced some solid games. Ones that, in hindsight, outshine everything that followed. Madden Mobile 17 and 18 introduced a ton of new features like draft champions, weekend tournaments, and M-games. And even though M-games wasn't a success, it showed that EA was at least trying new things. NBA Live Mobile was still thriving in its early days. And we can't forget FIFA Mobile, which hit an insane 113 million active monthly players in January of 2018. I mean, clearly EA was doing something right. But still, things felt off. Beneath all the success, cracks had already started to form. EA's priorities had shifted, and the warning signs became impossible to ignore. The games felt less rewarding, less engaging, less fun. And in true EA fashion, things were only going to get worse, as these changes led to the darkest period in EA mobile gaming history, the Pass era. The Pass era marks the shift from EA releasing solid mobile games to pushing out microtransaction simulators. It all started in 2018 with the release of the game that killed Madden Mobile, Madden Overdrive, and it continues to this day. Littered with pay-to-win mechanics, stripped-down features, and a string of decisions that completely ruin these once great franchises, this era is defined by two key things: a lack of quality and a lack of innovation. These games haven't seen any drastic improvements since the start of the mobile era. Sure, EA has updated the gameplay engine and graphics, but that doesn't automatically mean better gameplay. In fact, I'd argue the opposite. Gameplay seems to decline with each passing year. But hey, even if the gameplay is rough, surely these games still have something else going for them, right? Right? Nope. I mean, has EA released a couple of decent games during this era? Sure, but they're far and few between. Madden Mobile hasn't put out a solid game since 2020. FIFA Mobile has been on a steady decline, especially since switching to FC Mobile. But I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, you. Yeah, NBA Live Mobile's been bad for a while now. I can't lie. It's gotten to the point where EA treats these games less like actual sports titles and more like glorified slot machines, milking every last cent from whatever's left of their player bases. And yet, somehow, year after year, it only gets worse. But what exactly happened to these games that sent them into a downward spiral? Well, just like how we broke down what made the Golden Age so great, we're going to dive into everything that made the Pass era such a disaster. I believe one of the biggest issues these games face is overall inflation. It started back in Madden Mobile 18 with the introduction of training, which pushed players' overalls near 130. At the time, I, along with much of the community, hated this change. The 99 overall cap felt perfect, and I still believe that. But looking at where overalls have gone in recent years, I'd take 130 overalls back in a heartbeat. Speaking of, overall inflation really took off after the mobile merge, and I don't think that's a coincidence. EA saw an opportunity to squeeze even more money out of these games, and they took it. But in hindsight, that decision ended up costing them in the long run, which is honestly hilarious. They were so focused on maximizing short-term profits that they ruined what were once beloved games, all for a quick buck. And honestly, that's becoming a common story nowadays. Great things getting ruined by money-hungry executives. Mini rant aside, overall inflation gives EA an easier way to keep releasing better cards. Back when the cap was 99, you always knew what the highest overall was going to be. Sure, some 99s had better stats than others, but in-game, all you saw was the same overall, 99. How it should be. Now, EA can pump out new, slightly better cards at the drop of a dime, instantly making your best players obsolete. Just look at the overall caps over the years, especially in Madden Mobile. You can see how far gone these games are, and it's all just for more money. Back in the day, getting a 99 felt special. It felt like a grind. Now, you can log in once and get cards well over 100 overall, and it just doesn't hit the same. The 99 cap was a staple of these old games, and I truly believe there's an inverse correlation between overall inflation and game quality. It's not a coincidence that the best games were simpler, with lower overalls. I mean, Madden Mobile 22 had players close to 1,000 overall. 1,000. At that point, how do you even conceptualize stats? What's the difference between 800 and 900 speed? Someone please tell me. It just gets to a point where it becomes way too much. And while I'm glad EA has toned it down a little, I think most of us agree the 99 overall cap will always be better. And I'm not just saying that out of nostalgia. I truly believe overall inflation played a huge role in the downfall of these games. Maybe it's just a coincidence that the games got worse as overalls inflated, but I don't think breaking the 99 cap helped. And you know what else definitely didn't help? The changes EA made to the auction house and transfer market, which just so happens to be the next reason these games died. FIFA, Madden, and NBA Live Mobile all followed similar routes when it came to what happened to their auction house and transfer markets. FIFA Mobile transitioned from a fully player-controlled market to a bot-controlled system, and then eventually went to a supply and demand market with FC Mobile. And from what I've seen, it's widely unpopular, with cards taking months to sell. Madden Mobile took a similar route, moving from a player-ran auction house to a bot-controlled one. But unlike FIFA, they eventually scrapped it altogether, with the release of Madden Mobile 22 removing it for good. As for NBA Live Mobile, well, its auction house has been bot-controlled since 2018 or 19, and from what I've seen based on the latest season, it barely even functions anymore. And look, I get why EA had to crack down on coin selling. By 2017, coins had become ridiculously cheap. I remember being able to buy millions for next to nothing, and this was true for all three games, so I understand why EA took action. Coin selling often wrecked the in-game economies, but instead of coming up with a solution and a system that kept both the economy intact and the player base happy, they either gutted the auction house entirely or turned it into a broken mess. And no matter what game it is, I believe that most people miss the completely player-ran markets. If I told you an EA game featured tons of microtransactions, you wouldn't be surprised, would you? Of course not. So it should come as no shock that microtransactions are one of the biggest reasons these games died. Back in the day, the main thing EA pushed players to spend money on was bundles. That was really it. You couldn't just purchase a player straight from the store. I'm looking at you, NBA Live Mobile. I mean, I downloaded each of these games for this video, and the very first thing I saw, right after the tutorial, were pop-ups for microtransactions. I'm not even joking. Every single one of these games tried to get me to make a purchase within 5 minutes of playing. And look, I get it. EA wants to make money. That makes sense. That's what a company wants to do. But when you push it so hard onto your player base, it just comes off as desperate. And that's before we even mention the battle passes. I mean, it's just microtransaction after microtransaction with these games. NBA Live Mobile is probably the biggest offender, but honestly, all three have their fair share of issues. Having tons of microtransactions is bad enough in itself, but when you combine that with the fact that none of these games have a player-controlled market anymore, it just feels so much scummier. Think about it. You used to be able to buy any card from any promo at any time. You didn't have to get that card right when it dropped. You could wait until the market crashed and it became cheaper. Now, you don't get that luxury. I can't help but feel like EA self-sabotaged their own games, and it's honestly just disappointing. The final reason I believe these games died comes down to the overall decline of core features. Sets, packs, promos, gameplay, these are the backbones of these games. Yet, year after year, they've only gotten worse. You used to be able to buy almost any pack with coins. Now, we're lucky to even get to open packs with coins. And let's not forget when EA capped how many pro packs you could open in Madden Mobile. Sure, it didn't last long, but it was widely unpopular and left a bad taste in many players' mouths. And let's not mention that sets and promos feel soulless now, while gameplay never actually improves. Then we have the bloated mechanics, chemistry, power, schemes, ranking up, training. I mean, I could go on and on, but do mobile games really need to be that complicated? I mean, look back at the old games. We had none of that, and those games were amazing. And instead of doubling down on what made these games fun, EA keeps adding pointless mechanics that only make things worse. And at this point, it's clear EA doesn't understand or just doesn't care about its player base. Time and time again, they've ignored community feedback, removed beloved features, and doubled down on predatory monetization tactics. Instead of improving gameplay, they prioritize cash grabs. Instead of adding meaningful content, they recycled the same tired formulas. Look at how they handle updates. Rather than listening to their player base, they make changes that only benefit them. When they removed the auction house from Madden Mobile, players pushed back hard, yet EA never looked back. When FIFA Mobile transitioned to its bot-controlled market, the community voiced frustration, but EA stuck with it anyway. And don't even get me started on NBA Live Mobile. It's been neglected for years, with barely any improvements for the past decade. I'll give credit where credit is due. FC Mobile has solid presentation and a clean UI, but that's about it. Beneath the surface, it suffers from the same core features as the others. At this point, these games don't have much left to offer, at least not to the players who once loved them. From endless microtransactions to ruining beloved features like the auction house, the 99 overall cap, sets, promos, and more, EA managed to tank a set of games that once ruled mobile sports gaming, all in the name of more profit. In the end, they fell victim to something all too common in gaming these days: corporate greed. But hey, that's just my take. I want to hear yours. Drop it in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching. Peace.